Thank you for clicking on this video. Today we're going to talk a little bit about navigating your new normal. So this is for anybody who has already started the process of deployment and is in the middle portion of deployment trying to navigate it. So our agenda today, we're going to cover a few different things in embracing this new normal or creating this new routine for us. It really helps us and encourages us to really deal with the current situation so we aren't getting stuck in what used to be. So we're going to talk about reflecting on our deployment experiences, prepare for potential new reactions, and assess our self-care strategies. As always, we're going to cover a little bit about the emotional cycle of deployment. In a lot of our other classes, deployment-specific classes, we've discussed the emotional cycle of deployment. As you can guess, the first two stages, the anticipation of departure and detachment and withdrawal, are parts of the pre-deployment. So things before deployment begins, kind of in that time where we're having the confusing emotions as we're working hard to cope with this inevitable separation. So right now, you're going to be in the mid-deployment phase, which is categorized in stages 3 and 4. So the emotional disorganization and the recovery and stabilization. These stages really represent emotions you may experience throughout most of the deployment. So this is what we're going to really focus on in the next couple of slides. And then the last three stages, the anticipation of return, return and renegotiation, and reintegration and stabilization, really describe the emotions experienced as we're approaching homecoming, going through homecoming, and even beyond. So if you're interested in learning about those three stages, please look out for our homecoming workshops because we really focus on taking a look at that and how those stages affect us and our service members. So to begin, emotional disorganization. It may set in right after a service member deploys until about 6 weeks into the deployment. So during this time, many of you may feel disorganized or disoriented because you've not fully adjusted to the new routines. Maybe even feeling overwhelmed or worried about taking on total responsibility for the home and family. Even a sense of feeling empty, lonely, or even angry about having to separate from our loved ones. And it's very normal to feel these feelings and to be temporarily disorganized, overwhelmed, lonely, depressed, or even restless. This is really the peak of transition. So this sense of dysfunction, it is short-lived. Soon you should begin to realize that you are fundamentally resilient and that you're really able to cope with the deployment. If you have children, they also may show signs of emotional upset. So this all depends on their age. Maybe their schoolwork will suffer or their behavior may regress. But the good news is that children take cues from their caregiver. So as you adapt to the deployment and discover a new normal, so will they. It's important to mention, however, that some family members may become stuck in this stage, which can cause problems throughout the remainder of the deployment and beyond. So if you're not able to move past this stage, it's very important to seek help from either your family, your friends, or even reach out to professionals. Navigating to a new normal means adjustment and acceptance has occurred. You are adjusting to new responsibilities and have accepted that you must be without your service member during this time. This will lead to recovery and stabilization. Recovery and stabilization generally begins between 4 to 6 weeks after the deployment has begun. New routines have been established, and you're feeling more comfortable with having taken ownership of additional roles and responsibilities. You've developed new sources of support and even gained a new sense of independence. Of course, there's going to be times when you experience loneliness, sadness, or even anxiety, but you're generally handling day-to-day living with increased confidence and a more positive outlook. And remember, as you accept and adjust to change, if you have children, your children will also settle into more comfortable and adaptive behavior. So now that we've reflected on these stages before deployment and explored the reactions we're likely to face during this current stage, it's time to answer a few questions. So we want to start thinking about, what does your new normal look like? What new roles and responsibilities have you assumed? What new skills have you attained? Who is part of your support system? What are your new hobbies or interests? What positive outcomes are you experiencing? So, really, the new normal emerges when challenge creates an opportunity for you and your family to adjust to these new circumstances. You really get to realize your potential and create this new normalcy. So, discovering this resilience can really help you cope with the stresses of deployment, and it increases your well being. One of the changes we have all had to adjust to is the way we communicate with our deployed service member. Long distance communication is very different from everyday face to face communication. So, here are some ways to help you feel closer despite the miles between you. These tips are useful no matter what your relationship to the deployed service member is. So, you could be a parent, a partner, a child, or even just a friend. Share daily happenings. So, when we're writing, emailing, or even talking on the phone, we should describe the events of our day, even if they seem boring to us. Hearing about our life will help our service member feel closer to us. Express yourself clearly. It's difficult to decipher one-way communication, such as an email or letter. Being clear prevents each other from having to read between the lines or interpret tone and minimize the understanding. Share a long-distance hobby. For example, choose a book that you both enjoy and read it together. Update each other on your progress and share your thoughts and opinions. Start a journal. Record your thoughts and experiences in a journal to share with each other. You can do this online or by periodically exchanging the written journal. Create a playlist. Make a list of songs that remind you of your relationship. And you can make copies for each of you. I've done this and I enjoy the playlist, if not the same amount or more than my sailor. So it's a great way for my sailor to know I'm thinking about them, and songs that make me think about them, as well as songs that reminds me of my sailor and our relationship. Send handmade coupons. The coupons can be redeemable upon homecoming, and your coupons might be for special activities. So maybe it's dinner at the service member's favorite restaurant, watching a favorite sporting event, even watching a good new movie, even a pass to do nothing all day. Or even for partners, maybe your coupon is a massage or a nice candlelit dinner. No matter what method of communication you use, it's very important to maintain operational security, or OPSEC. That means making sure you do not talk about sensitive information in public, on the phone, or internet. This includes texting, emailing, and social media use on all devices, and even in newsletters. OPSEC is based on the idea that the accumulation of sensitive or unclassified pieces of information, when gathered and analyzed by adversaries, could compromise command and personal security. Do not talk or text about sensitive classified information or try to communicate in code. Doing so could inadvertently give adversaries a critical piece of the puzzle that could compromise security and/or the command's mission. Some of the best practices for protecting OPSEC include avoiding discussion of command or unit mission, ship's movement, command morale or personal problems, port calls, and homecoming dates. There's a saying that loose lips sink ships, so we really need to stay vigilant about maintaining operational security. The last thing we're going to discuss today is the topic of self-care. Taking care of yourself is always important. However, during times of increased stress and constant change, like deployment, it's even more important. So, one way to take care of yourself is to recognize when you begin to feel stress and have a plan in place to manage it. Sometimes we think we're dealing with situations rather well, and we ignore the signs and symptoms that are telling us we need to stop and take better care of ourselves. How do you know when you are feeling stressed? It's really important for us to take a good look in the mirror and evaluate our physical and emotional health. 5 things that we need to keep in mind for taking care of our physical health are eating healthy, so getting plenty of lean protein, fresh fruits and vegetables, and essential fats in our diet, while also watching our intake of refined sugars. Getting enough rest, 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep every night. Rest gives your mind and body an opportunity to recuperate from the stressors of the day. Staying hydrated. The rule of thumb is to drink water equal to half your body weight in ounces. That means if you are 120 pounds, you should drink 60 ounces of water per day. Be active or exercise. Even 15 to 20 minutes of physical activity 3 days a week will boost your energy and increase your overall sense of well-being. Avoid toxic substances. So consuming drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and excess caffeine will work against your efforts to be your best self. The next 5 strategies are going to deal with taking care of ourselves emotionally. Do not seek perfection. No one is perfect. Trying to achieve perfection will set you up for disappointment. As author Ann Wilson Schaaf says, perfectionism is self-abuse of the highest order. In fact, research shows that perfectionism hinders success and often leads to depression, anxiety, and addiction. Express gratitude. Instead of chasing perfection, reflect on why you are thankful. Motivational speaker Zig Ziglar said, "Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. The more you express gratitude for what you have, the more likely you will have even more to express gratitude for. So make gratitude your first and last thought of the day." Prioritize. You have just assumed additional responsibilities, which means you have more to do these days. Prioritizing will help you identify what is most important, so you're able to focus on those things first. Creating a to-do list and learning to say no can help. Be flexible. Interruptions and distractions are bound to happen. When you're flexible, interruptions tend to be less bothersome. Reward yourself, even for small successes. So we really want to take a look at these things and see how we can apply them to our lives, as well as how are we already applying these assessments of self-care to our lives. Try to select one physical and one emotional self-care strategy that we can really improve on during this deployment. So create specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goals, and really commit to applying these into your life daily. Just remember, practice makes permanent, not perfect. Another way to care for yourself is to cultivate a support system. Family and friends are usually our first line of support, but who else can we turn to when we need help? There are many places to turn for support, so please ask for help when you need it. A lot of the Command Ombudsman, reach out to your family readiness group, us here at Fleet and Family, as well as the chaplain and the church program here on base is one of the largest in the fleet. Even reach out to relatives and friends. Lots of great resources for you. I just want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope this helped you in navigating your new normal and creating a new routine throughout this deployment for you. If you do have any questions for us, please reach out to us here at Fleet and Family. We're happy to provide you with any assistance, set you up with any resources available to you on base, and we wish you a happy rest of your deployment. Thank you.